Then I'm going to continue reading here from this letter. It says, in essence, by providing substandard programs to MPS employee, then there's a parentheses, which according to HLC guidelines should be exact same that is offered to others regardless of the mode of delivery or location, close parentheses. And then it's bolded, it says, is an act of institutional racism. And then going on to normal font, being perpetrated against our black and brown employees. Do you see that there in the document?
Yes.
Do you believe that's a true statement?
Object to the following questions. Broad, vague, calls for speculation. Go ahead and answer if you can.
Give me a second. I just want to read it again. So if I'm reading this correctly, by providing a substandard program to MPS employees, which according to HLC guidelines should be the exact same that is offered to others, regardless of mode of delivery or location, is an act of institutional racism. I think that is very vague. I don't know how to answer this question because I don't want to answer it and make the assumption that the substandard aspect or the quality of the program is what it is because the employees are black. Does that make sense?
Sure, but do you see anywhere in this sentence that it says that this is happening because they're black?
No, what I'm referencing in particular, it says, in essence, by providing a substandard program to MPS employees is an act of institutional racism. And we're talking about predominantly black employees. I don't want to speak to that that assumption that it's a substandard program because the employees are black. I don't know if I'm reading too much into this, but I don't know how to answer the question.
Sure, but it's a substandard program based on your knowledge and experience because it's not providing the licenses that it's supposed to.
Yes.
Okay, and the people who aren't getting those licenses are majority black, right?
Yes.
Okay.
People who are enrolled in the program are majority black. Yes.
And MPS knows that the majority, the MPS board, I should say, knows that the majority of these people are black, right?
I can't speak for the board members. I know because I've done my homework in terms of just understanding the demographics of the district and the specific positions, but I can't speak for my board colleagues.
Okay. And this information about the racial makeup, that's in the audit, right?
Yes. Per my understanding, yes. Yes.
Okay, and the board members are required to read the audit, right?
Yes, we are required to read everything that comes our way. Yes, we are required to be knowledgeable about it.
Okay, so if board members were not aware of these issues, that would be neglect on their part, correct?
I would object to the following questions. Broad and vague. It's also argumentative. Calls for speculation. Go ahead and answer if you can.
You know, I will not say that as a board member. I don't know how to answer that. That's not a yes or a no because in many situations we don't know what we don't know. And there is a plethora of not resources, but information that comes our way. I don't think it's humanly possible for one individual to catch everything, hence the reason for the existence of an office or offices like the Office of Board Governance or the Office of Accountability and Efficiency to guide us, to instruct us on, matters that we should be made aware of when it comes time to occupy spaces like this or make decisions or understand a complaint that's been presented to us. And so I don't know how to answer that, but I don't think it's a yes or no.
Well, how you as a board member vote on any given item if you don't have the information and instead the administration has that information?
Check the following questions. Broad and vague. Calls for speculation. Go ahead and answer if you can.
So I'll answer that in this way. Earlier I was asked about motions. And I said we can't make a motion if we have not been presented with the information. The first part of the process is to conduct an investigation, and then we are presented with the facts or the evidence of the investigation, and then from there decisions have been made Specifically in this case, I recall only being in session twice. The first time was presenting the initial concern, and the second time was an update. Since then, there has been no new discoveries that have been brought to my attention in that space for us to make decisions or move on anything, and I think that's the same case here, or the same situation here.
Is an audit investigation or something else?
It is under investigation.
Is an audit an investigation?
I mean, I think it's an investigative report, findings based on the investigation that has been conducted.
And what committees are you on?
I am on parent and community engagement and school or student achievement and school innovation.
Okay. And as a board member, well, okay, we'll back that up.
Audits are typically presented on AFP.
Okay, so, and this is, I think, the problem that I'm trying to understand here. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm trying to get to the bottom and say this. If is it true from what you're saying that the board doesn't act unless administration presents the issue to the board?
That is not what I'm saying.
Okay. Then, can you explain to me how the board, unless, because I understood that you said the board there has to be an investigation before you can act, right?
When a matter is a legal issue, because there was a formal complaint filed by Miss Folaron,
Right.
because it was filed, because she proceeded with that process with retaining counsel. When we were presented with the matter, it was a formal legal matter, a legally pending matter.
Right, but we've already been over that, and we've already determined that there was Teresa Folaron's complaint, and then there was the audit, right? And those are two separate things.
Yes, and I'm not familiar with the timeline. I'm not familiar with the timeline of the two in comparison.
Sure, but whether or not you're familiar with the timeline, the real issue is ultimately whether or not, independent of some action by administration, the board can act, or does act.
I'm going to object to the former question. First of all, it's argumentative. Secondly, it's compound. Third, it calls for speculation, and it's broad and vague. Go ahead and answer if you can.
Can you restate the question?
Sure. I keep hearing from you that you can't, the board can't act, or you can't file a motion until there's an investigation or some other action. And as far as I understand, that action has to take place by the administration. Am I misunderstanding that?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to object to the former question. It's broad and vague also misinterprets her testimony over the last 2 or 3 hours.
Sure. Okay. So according to that answer then, you could at any time make a motion against the MPS or to settle Teresa Folaron's complaint or anything else that you would want to do, regardless of what the administration thinks, right?
No. And no, because according to your words, at any time can I make a motion, as previously stated. In order to make a motion, this issue has to be noticed on the agenda, and from there we either discuss it publicly on the board floor or we go into executive session. But if it is not on the agenda, there is no motion that I can show up as a board director and make, and it result in any action. That's not how it goes.
Did you ever approve MOU with Viterbo University?
Yes, I did, yeah.
Okay. At that time, could you have made a motion?
I think I could have made a motion had I understood the connection. And again, I can't say off the top of my head when that MOU was approved in comparison to when this formal complaint was made. Yeah.
Okay. But how about in comparison to when the audit took place?
Check the former question. It's broad and vague. Calls for speculation. Go ahead and answer if you can. If you understand the question.
I'll say this. I could have made a motion specifically about this audit, and I did not. However, other things were done and presented during the closed session that's protected by client-attorney privilege. I did to address certain matters.
So you're telling us that you did take some action, you just won't tell us about it, is that right?
I'm going to object to the form of the question. She testified that it was in closed session with an attorney, and we are asserting attorney-client privilege over that conversation. And I'm instructing her not to respond based on that attorney-client privilege.
Can you repeat the question?
Question, so you're telling us that you did take some action, you just won't tell us about it, is that right?
No.
Okay. Did you ever record any of your conversations between a whistleblower and yourself?
No. Whistleblower? No. Whistleblower would be an employee or someone that is perhaps filing a complaint against the district? No.
Okay. In your role as an elected representative, do you ever record your conversations?
Yes, I've recorded budget discussions. I've recorded matters at a specific time in my board role for other reasons. Yes.
Okay. Have you ever recorded closed session meetings?
No.
Okay. What other meetings have you recorded?
So I have recorded budget discussions
Okay.
that were not confidential.
And I'm sorry, I just want to be clear, budget conversations that are confidential, can you explain to us what that means?
So specifically, when I was learning how to plan for, interpret, how to decide what amendments or things that I would do as an elected official, I had a budget work session where I recorded that, yes.
Okay, and is that the session in which Matt Chasen explains to you the money that's being put in this fund that then is now the school board is required or is now asking the public to fund?
No, they're not related. The time when I spoke with Matt Chasen regarding the budget, I think that was my first budget session, of which time I was trying to understand why my amendments were being rejected because of the claim of not having the funding. And so it was a work session where information was shared that should be shared with the public. It was nothing really confidential as it pertains to budgets and whatnot.
Okay, so was that a budget, that recording of your conversation with Matt Chasen, was that a budget session that you were talking about?
That was our budget work session.
Okay, are there other recordings?
No.
That's the only recording you've made of any MPS
Of Matt
employee?
Chasen, yes.
What other employees, I'm sorry.
Why don't
So
you
I've
let
had-
her respond?
I've had town halls.
Mhm.
I record all of those,
Mm-hmm.
all of the discussions. I've had virtual town halls that were recorded via Zoom. Primarily because as an elected official, I have to cover my butt, or not my butt, but my back, my role, yes.
Have you ever told anybody that you record meetings with Keith Posley?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, do you record meetings with Keith Posley?
No.
Okay. Did you ever tell Teresa Folaron that you believe her accusations about MPSU?
I don't recall the exact conversation, but I do remember saying that I had heard about it. I think I shared with Teresa at the time that my sister was going through the program that I had just met, and basically validating that I had heard the complaints and that I knew something was wrong.
Did you ever tell Teresa Folaron that you gave the recordings that you made of MPS business to your father?
To my father?
Yes.
No, my father is older. There's no.
Okay. Did you ever tell Teresa Folaron that you were trying to file a class action suit against MPS?
I told Teresa, I've spoke openly about parents and their rights as parents. And if they are not satisfied with us as elected officials or even going through the process, they have the right to pursue legal action. And I've been very vocal and spoke very openly about that.
Okay. And what about a class action suit?
A class action suit would require a lot of people. I myself cannot initiate that. I think perhaps in those conversations or when we're talking about legal action and parents, I encourage parents to come together and be present and be better advocates for their students and understand their rights. And so it's just educating people on their rights.
So you never told Teresa Folaron that you were gathering evidence to initiate a class action lawsuit, is that right?
I have been engaging in coalition building. I've actually been in communication with school board directors from across the country where we have been in communication about illegal matters or unethical matters that occur in school districts, particularly with unions.
Okay. And do you have any history with Keith Posley?
I would say yes.
What's
Yes.
that history?
I was an employee
Mm-hmm.
in the district, and there was a incident or a situation where I had to engage directly with him at a time when I was potentially facing disciplinary action.
Okay. You want to say more?
I'm going to instruct her not to, because there's a protective order or a motion for protective order out there that potentially will cover this, and this has nothing to do with this case. So I'm instructing you not to answer that question.
Did Keith Posley fire you?
No,
Okay. So were you fired from the MPS at any time?
no.
Did you resign?
Well, I had to resign because I started my term on the board. And so in order to serve on the board, you have to basically resignate or resign from the district.